Hey, everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today I've got Anuj Datta with me. We said a couple, should we say the Indian way or like, he's with AD1 Management. So Anuj, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing? Great to be with you.
Great to be with you as well. And my cat just crawled into a little paper bag over there, so I'm sorry if there's any background noise.
It's all right.
I'm just like, man, I can't even with these animals anymore. But the funniest thing, 2020, we're just kind of going with the punches at this point, right? Because you and I were supposed to connect earlier back in March, and literally that was like COVID was announced, like all the shutdowns. And
Yeah.
you want to start there with your story?
Yeah. I mean, we were working on a real estate transaction together, and the transaction happened to close, which is a good thing because we were kind of on like the edge. Sometimes we weren't sure if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And luckily we closed, and then, I'm setting up for the new venture that we have going into that place. And, there's a shortage of toilet paper. So I was talking to you pretty often at that time, just when kind of things like that going on. And we had like several conversations on text about, man, I can't find this toilet paper. It was rough times and we were supposed to link up. I remember that Friday, I forget the exact date, but we were supposed to link up that Friday. And it was just like the whole business, literally my whole business, in a matter of, we heard on a Wednesday, Houston Rodeo got canceled. The whole business turned upside down.
That's
the whole
crazy,
hospitality
man.
business. I mean, it was crazy. And at that point I was like, I can't sit down and focus on a real.
No, I get it. Because we had something on the calendar. And you're like, hey man, I got to reschedule. I'm running around trying to find toilet paper for clients. And I was like, I get it, man. Yeah. I saw the toilet paper shortage, but selfishly I was like, I got a 24 pack. Like I'll be good. But I didn't ever think about it for people who are running that business. Like, people staying there, you need to get toilet paper.
Yeah. I bought a whole case of bleach from Home Depot. People were like, "Can I get some bleach?" I'm like, "Here, you can have a gallon here. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, and just like we were talking about. Now we're here in September. This will probably go live in October because I got a couple other episodes in the pipeline. But now that the year's gone by, we're kind of in this new normal, right? You're killing it in your business. I think I'm killing it. I mean, I feel like I'm doing pretty well in my business too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's awesome to see people that are thriving because you see a lot of the news and the negativity, like, unemployment and job loss, and it's not fair. And then you see the people who are like, I'm going to keep on pushing through, even if tomorrow's the last day that the world exists. And I think it's awesome to just, drive off of each other's energy because we're finding our rhythm, right? So how's the business looking now? I know you're getting a lot of short-term rentals. You told me the income on some of the deals that you have right now, pretty solid.
Yeah.
We did together, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so basically what I'm really focused on is growing the management side of the portfolio. I have a real estate investment side of my portfolio where I own some apartment complexes, single family houses, and I run short-term rentals out of them. And then also I have the management side of the business. I have some clientele that are my main clientele, builders that I work with that are, build just beautiful homes. And so that's my main Houston, customers. And then I just started a new service, remotecohost.com. So basically the services in the short-term rental business, all the back-end administrative guest relations, all those different services we offer to our clients at a really discounted management rate. So we kind of remotely manage, in this world, everything is turning remote. And we said, and actually I'll tell you the story behind it. The idea was, I needed to, open a website for the business because we were just getting to the level where it's like time to open a website. So Remote Cohost came up from there because I was like, am I going to open up just like a local management company website? Or, since it's the World Wide Web, why don't we try to market to the whole world a service that everybody can use? So that's where Remote Cohost came out of. And we already had everything implemented to run the business already internally. So it's a good extension of the business. So that's actually a new service that we're offering right now.
That's awesome. And I'll be sure to put that link in the show notes for anyone who wants to go check out the site and see what you're up to there and use the service as well. I think I stayed at a place in Dallas. When was it? Maybe late last year. And it was interesting. Is this place called StayAlfred or something? I hadn't heard of it before. but it was because I would have picked an Airbnb, but I went with the guy and his wife helped him set it up. He invited me. He's a broker from in town, been in business 25 years, high-end homes, all that stuff. And so I'm like, cool, let me go learn from this guy and just go to the training that he went to. And it was similar, like a remote management company type thing. And you go to the front door and there's like those little boxes where you can put keys in them. And you got some kind of check-in code and it opens it up and you get the key to the unit. It was pretty cool. I hadn't seen it. We didn't have to meet anybody. I didn't have to like coordinate with the Airbnb host or have a code to the door. And so I think that was pretty awesome. Like you said, things are going remote. And yeah, they do people there to clean it and, refill the toilet paper and stuff whenever we're not running short. But at the same time, you can do so much of it, right?
Exactly. There's a big portion, like cleaning and boots on the ground and some preventative routine maintenance is definitely a part of the business. It's not like you can go without that. That's in any property management type of environment, right? You need to have that going well. But there's a whole other part of the short-term rental business, right? There's more revenue, as you know. So with more revenue there's more responsibility. You're actually running a hospitality and property management business. The reason it can be done remotely is there's a whole suite of services that people need, tasks that can come anytime, like a guest reaches out to you. That can happen literally anytime.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have 24/7 staff on it for. So there's different aspects to the short-term rental business that you can completely do remotely that really serves a lot of functions. And StayAlfred, I think they're an arbitrage company. So basically what rental arbitrage is, right? I'm sure you're familiar with that. They basically, people rent apartments in different apartment buildings, complexes. They make a deal with the management company or the landlord direct. And they say, hey, give me this block of suites, this block of 1 bedrooms. And usually the best is those bigger companies, they do it on the same floor. So they say, give me this whole block, set it off and give me a good rate, like discount the rent by 25%. Right now, people can get deals because, these property management companies are looking to fill up these complexes, especially A-class right now in Houston because of the oil market as well. Yeah. So, yeah. So they just arbitrage it. So they get it at a lesser rent and then they sell it at premium on the short-term rental space.
Interesting. And then, of course, they take the risk of vacancies and turn around and clean up and all that. So exactly. Cool. I actually was helping someone to try to find a lease. She was trying to do that too. She wanted to rent somewhere, come to an agreement, and then Airbnb it out. Yes. And I followed up with her because she kind of found a place without me. I ended up not helping her. I didn't get a commission or anything. But on leases, it's more like a long-term play. Like, hey, it's not going to be an exciting commission, but when they buy or sell something later, it could be. And she had just got herself into a lease right when the whole COVID thing happened too. But of course, now I'm sure she's having no problem because people are like, okay, let me find my new normal. Airbnbs are booked. People are still going on vacation, to some extent within the nation or whatever, or some parts of the world.
Road trips.
Yeah, road trips. I've seen everyone I know seems to have gone to Colorado this year because you can social distance and hike in the mountains and stuff, right? If you're on a big mountain, it's like the whole mountain to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Airbnb has done especially well post, let's say June, July, after the initial wave of cancellations and everything just being canceled basically. So starting mid-June, July, the numbers started picking up with Airbnb. And the real benefit that Airbnb offers people in these times is a separate house. So especially houses with pools, they did really well because people want to hang out with their immediate people, 8, 5, 6, whatever amount of people. If they could have a pool and they could have a nice house, it serves that purpose. Whereas I don't have to now go to a hotel and deal with the elevator and deal with the lobby and deal with all these different things. The hotel industry is really suffering right now. And that's another part of what we do is for our service, we hotel owners as well as our clients. Awesome. So people who just want to run their service through Airbnb, they have vacancy in their hotel. We fill up their vacancy through Airbnb.
That's really cool. Yeah, and so, entrepreneurship is just, solving these problems and identifying the needs. And arbitrage is a big thing, like whether it's real estate and rentals or buying something low and selling it. Because you see people who do that too. They'll go to Target clearance section and Walmart and they just try to find all these things that are selling for double or more on Amazon. And they're buying these things that are like $5 that they could sell for 50. And then you got a little bit of a cut there that goes to Amazon, but you can still profit. And so it's just interesting to see the different types of arbitrage people engage in out there. And of course, it's different levels of risk too. You might get a place that's vacant, or you might buy something from the Target discount that like nobody cares about, right? It doesn't have much movement, but it's all part of the game. And sometimes you maybe figure out a certain thing that's like, wow, this is really in demand. People love it. It's going fast. And not a lot of other people have discovered this opportunity. And you can kind of grow and establish a little bit of a dominance in that space.
Definitely. The Amazon. Are you talking about the Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon. I mean, Amazon's come in, take it over, drop shipping, all those things. And there's people who are being successful on Amazon. I mean, it's like everyone gets a little slice of the pie. But if you actually are a first mover, or you actually take action on it, right? Because there's the people who are like, oh, it's too late. Amazon's already taken off. Everything's already for sale.
It's always too late for those people.
Dude, it's always too late. I think the 4-Hour Workweek mentions it, Tim Ferriss, where he said, the lights will never all be green. You can't just wait for all the street lights to perfectly line up and be green. It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
You're going to hit some red lights, yellow lights, floor it, you get to the stop sign, and that's just how you go, right? So
it's a breakdown and a build up.
Exactly.
I feel like, like you go through these things that kind of change your whole mentality in certain ways and change the way you function and you operate. And sometimes they're smaller things and sometimes they're bigger things in your life. And that your reaction to whatever those things are is really what shapes you into the future of whatever you want to produce around yourselves. At the end of the day, our surroundings are a reflection of kind of ourselves.
Exactly. And it's crazy. I've been on this whole journey, and I'm reading like 3 different spiritual books on meditation, from Jay Shetty. I've got Think Like a Monk from Jay Shetty. I've got Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, I believe. My mom got me that book. So it's like really good, and just trying to unlock and go within, and how your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, right? So people who are stressed and angry and they have all this pent up, frustration, they take that out on everything, and they play the victim oftentimes, like, man, everything's out to get me, the president, this, that. Like entrepreneurs, like we create our own economy. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world. If we're aligning ourselves with the right people and we have that positive mindset, like that's how we're thriving. You and I, everyone, people who are meeting people like us, where they're like, dude, how are you crushing it in this time of uncertainty, in the craziest, year we've had probably in my lifetime, at least. I don't know.
Same here. Same here.
I have some years like the craziest year of our existence for most people. I mean, other than, I guess, I saw the meme too that's like, hey, we're complaining about this pandemic thing. Our grandparents had to go to war. They had another war. Like the Great Depression, like they had their savings obliterated. I'm like, oh, that sounds worse.
Yeah, I mean, things can always be worse, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we are in the best country in the world to do what we want to do as entrepreneurs.
Exactly. So I love that.
Yeah. So it's on us to kind of shape it, and there's a lot of confidence that comes with being an entrepreneur, and you need it in certain ways. You definitely need the confidence, but in a lot of ways you need to temper that confidence with humility. You do, right? Yeah, because ego is a funny thing. And then when you start feeling yourself too much, you can definitely trip off in like, I love myself too much type of vibe. Yeah. And then, and you need to come back and you need to focus on really what's important. So like, it's all about keeping those things in check.
I love that, what you just said there, because I've talked to someone about this the other day, and the coolest thing is like now I'm just having all these conversations, and half the time I just click record because I'm like, hey, this could be whatever we talk about could be good content for the podcast, just because I like to talk to people who like to talk about certain topics like this. And it happens to be interesting to me, and I think my audience finds that to be true, right? So it's crazy how we can just have these conversations and learn these things and relate. And it seems like a breakthrough, like, yeah, we kind of know it and figured these things out, but it's reassuring to hear other people feel the same way. And when you talk about ego, the funny thing is that you need a little bit of it to feel confident, and you need to do work that leads to success, which gives you confidence. Because if you're not confident, My therapist just told me this the other day. If you're too cocky, that's ego. And if you're not confident enough, that's also ego. So you have to try to find a good balance of confidence in yourself, but not getting arrogant or, airheaded or whatever. So
it's always about that balance.
It's a fine balance.
That's what it's about. It's always confidence, humility, whatever. With the ego, it's just, at the end of the day, if you define the ego, it's your identity, right? So you need to muster up your identity within yourself so that you can present yourself in an entrepreneurial type of situation a certain way, so that it's your identity that you're kind of attached to, and we need it, in certain ways. But in certain ways, when the gurus, when Nisarg Datta is somebody that I'm listening to right now a lot on YouTube. I listen to gurus on YouTube, older guys, you guys who are dead already, and what it really comes down to is non-duality. That there is no separation. There is,
like you are who you are. Like you're just
your ego. So your ego is separation. Your ego is your separation from the. So in Hinduism called Brahma. So Brahma is Brahma. Yeah, Brahman or Brahman. It's consciousness. So it's all of consciousness. It's like this. If you are this way, it's what they call of enlightened individuals kind of giving up their own identity altogether and becoming a part of this greater Brahma consciousness, like your Atman. Like in Hinduism, is your Atman is your soul. If you think about it as your soul connecting, your soul. Your soul is just an extension of consciousness.
That's cool. Yeah. I've been getting very into those different things, and I'm always interested to hear, different religions and perspectives. And when I travel to different countries, I've never been one to be like, oh, my religion's right, you're wrong. I don't know. I kind of question it because I grew up Catholic. I always went to Catholic school, but then I met other people and I was like, well, they think they're right. They think they're right. Like, who's right? If I think I'm right and everyone's wrong. But I love taking bits and pieces of, okay, you believe in this. We all know there's something greater, and there's that connection with the spiritual world. So that's awesome what you said there. The Brahman, Braman, is that right?
Brahman. Yeah, Bra. I think Hman. Brahman.
Hman. Brahman.
And I say Hinduism. I'm not like a devout Hindu.
Right.
It's just like a philosophy.
Philosophy, right?
Hinduism is a deeper philosophy, but anyway, it's a philosophy of non-duality, leaving any religious titles out of it. Right. It's a philosophy of non-duality, just one, not two. And I think in a true way, reality is one, not two. Your stream of consciousness is just one, there's so anything that adulterates reality is your own ego kind of putting the lens over whatever is really going on. So for me, the ultimate quest of spirituality for me is just to truly see reality for what it is.
That's awesome,
with
man.
Any lens. Yeah.
I'm loving this conversation. I'm sure some people listening are like, whoa, like mind blown, right? Because they're like, whoa, wait, hold up. It's like we're talking about, the blue pill or the red pill in the Matrix, where once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And you see like Neo with all the numbers and everything everywhere. That's what we're all trying to get to. So, it's interesting with the ego because I'm just learning all this stuff about myself that I never knew, right? I just feel like I am where I am. But in a therapist session yesterday, it was kind of funny. My therapist was like you had a history, like something made you what you are now. You didn't just appear here at 30 years old. And I was laughing because I'm like, none of that, what does that stuff even matter? Like, here I am, this is where I'm going. But then she made up a good point that said, we don't really grow like a timeline. It's not like you're like, here I am on the timeline. We're more like a tree. We've got a core, we've got certain beliefs and things that we grew up with, and we kind of grow roots depending on what we're learning, where we're leaning to. And so, all this religious and spiritual and like just connecting with ourselves and in the Brahman, I love all this kind of stuff because it makes you think, like, what else do I not know? How am I not tapping into my full potential? What do I need to discover or uncover, right? So have you gone on any meditation retreats or like,
I did. Yeah, I did. Art of Silence. It was just a weekend retreat in Katy.
Okay.
And it was nice. Yeah. It was meditation and breathing. I have
Awesome.
my own kind of personal daily meditation practice in the morning.
Cool.
And yeah, it's just very low key. I like to be outdoors when I meditate, but it's just
Hot and humid in Houston.
it's hot and humid, but I don't know. I like to be in nature and listen to what's going on, even though I'm right by downtown Houston.
You're like sirens and
trains and railroads,
gunshots. Who knows? But I actually like that too. I try to get outside more as well because I started meditating with like noise and then some music, and sometimes I'll do it at home with some like running water sounds. And with this tropical storm that just came through, all the rain, like I have single pane windows in this old house that I bought in Edo, so I could hear the rain pretty well, and it was like white noise without having to turn on the sound, and so it was really peaceful. Just I have a little meditation pillow, and I sit there and I cross my legs, and I'm not very flexible, but I'm trying to do it as authentically as possible, right?
I don't sit on the floor. I sit in the chair.
My hips hurt in like 5 minutes. I can't even do that.
I'm the same way, so I can't even sit on the floor. Jeez. I just sit in the chair.
Yeah, I usually do the chair, but I guess the pillow, and I have to lean my back against the wall because otherwise it just gets uncomfortable. But man, that's really cool.
I wanted to go back to one thing that you said about the past. And when your therapist explained, it was telling you, you are come from a past. I mean, your past experiences shape the person that you are, of course, in certain ways. But I think what you say is right in a way that if you come to a certain situation without your past, you don't have any fog of anything, or you don't have any preconceived notions.
Right.
You can just come clean as a clean slate and observe exactly what's going on. So in a way, it's good to, eliminate, not come with the past and those preconceived notions and judgments.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that was my thing, pushing back to her, because I'm all about the mindset stuff. Tom Bilyeu, Andy Frisell, all these guys are like, man, screw don't let the past be your story.
Robert Greene, by the way. Yeah.
Robert Greene, right?
Robert Greene's my favorite author.
I got to check out his book. I think, what is it? The Laws of Power.
48, the Laws of Power, the Laws of Human Nature, the 48 Laws of Power.
I need to check his books out. I haven't checked any of them out yet.
Mastery. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You got to get into Robert Greene. Yeah.
I listened to his interviews on Impact Theory. I really liked those.
Okay. Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory.
On Tom Bilyeu's show. But man, it's just learning about that stuff. There's so many things to learn, and it opens up your mind. I mean, where we are now is amazing because I can't imagine being from some small town where all you had was the internet and the newspaper and the news. I mean, not the internet. Did I say the internet? I mean, the library and the newspaper and the news. You'd have such a limited amount of information. Whereas here, I can watch someone's video in San Francisco and in India and Canada, and the ideas and the knowledge can spread so much faster. And I can connect with so many people, at the blink of an eye. And you can learn things, get new ideas that before maybe you thought like everyone else in your small town, and now. I'm like, that person believes in this, or that person broke through that challenge they were having. How can I, mimic their success and just model what they're doing? So I don't know how I got there, but
quite an age. No, it's all good. But no, you're right. I mean, we definitely do live in quite an age where we can share information quickly. And it's always a double-edged sword, right? Because there's always like bad things that kind of happen with it. But like Robert Greene actually really talks about this one thing about in the age of social media, is that there's a lot of envy that happens, but for a person who's viewing other people's thing, and it's something something that they kind of internalize, and it's something that's just if you ever have had envy or jealousy built up inside of you, it's a very toxic feeling, emotionally toxic feeling, probably the worst that there is. And what he's saying is, on a grand scale, this is kind of happening and causing maybe all these depression issues and different things that are going on with like mental health. Yeah. So definitely, man, God bless the information age. Really, it's amazing.
Blessing and a curse. Yeah.
And a curse, but it's always double-edged, of course, my man.
Yeah, no, that's so true, because it's cool how, I don't know if you've seen that documentary, The Social Dilemma. Have you checked that out yet?
I have not.
Very interesting. And I want to make an episode about it. I mentioned it on a previous podcast episode too, but it basically is just a documentary about how we're addicted to our phones and how, I mean, that's obvious. We know that, but like how tech companies they're incentivized to make it as addicting as possible, where you hear the ding, you want to see what the message was. If you're not opening your phone in a while, they'll send you an email like, hey, so-and-so just got engaged or whatever. And then you open your phone and now you're 10, 20 minutes in on Facebook, you're clicking on this and you're updating on that. And now you're in Instagram, right? So it's never ending. And like you said, and like I guess Robert Greene said, I haven't checked that out yet, but it's very easy to feel like, oh man, you know, I was excited about my success, but now look at Anuj over here. He's killing it even more. Like, and then maybe I'm happy for you, but I'm also a little upset that maybe you got success in something faster than I did, and that's not fair. And, you know,
that mindset is not a winning mindset.
It's not, no. And I love to see my friends win. And of course, there's going to be a little bit of jealousy. Like if you're not seeing success and everyone else is, you're like, awesome. Like, I don't want you to lose, but you're still like, why am I not winning like that? You know, I kind of felt like that in college. I studied with a couple friends and we would be there for 8 hours and I'd be trying as hard as I could. And, you know, I took Adderall 1 or 2 times when I was like, I need to focus, like sit here and read a whole book. And they would get like a 95 on the test and I get like a 78. And I'm like, what the hell? You know, we studied the same time. They taught me how to do the answers. I guess they understood it more. And I was just kind of memorizing the steps of the formula. But that would frustrate me. And I was kind of like happy for them, but I was still like, man, that's like, I have a C in this class. What the heck? You know that feeling where you want to be happy, but you're a little jealous.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I definitely have experienced, you know, those type of feelings. And that, I think, in a way is, if you can kind of master those negative type of emotions and use that negative emotion for positivity within you and within your environment, I mean, that's the ideal way to do it. Right. I would say. But yeah, definitely dealing with that, with those type of issues, you know, and it happens in life, but it's like, that's what he's going back to what Robert Greene said. Yeah. He's just saying it's happening at a grander scale because of social media. Either way, like I said, social media is a great thing as well. So
it totally makes sense. And I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. I was just making fun of a friend. I asked her if she's free to catch up on a Zoom call. And she said she's still a millennial, like she barely makes the cutoff for millennial, but she's basically an old lady because she's like handwritten calendar. Dude, she's like handwritten calendar. And she's a top producing agent in town. And so I just wanted to pick her brain and be like, hey, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to learn from you. So I was joking. I got to pull up the messages. It was just hilarious. Here it is. So we were just trying to schedule this today. And I said, tomorrow at 1 p.m., Zoom call. Do you know what those are? She was like, ha, ha, ha. I'm totally 80 years old. You have no idea. I've heard of the Zoom thing. And I told her I sent the invite, and she's like, on my calendar. And at first I thought she meant Google Calendar. So I was like, yes, welcome to 2020. And I was like, oh, wait, a real calendar?
Oh, like her handwritten.
Like a physical. She's like, yes, dude, a physical calendar. And I'm like, oh my God.
Man, I had beepers, so I can definitely relate to where she's coming from. I had beepers in the 90s. I was in my 20s in the 90s.
Dude, I remember beepers. Like my friend's dad had one, and he was in real estate, but I never had to use one myself. It's just, I can't imagine a beeper that texted you basically, hey, call me, right? Like,
yeah. But listen, don't undervalue notepads.
That's true. No, that's
honestly,
true.
It's such a quick, efficient way to do business. Yeah, you know.
I've got my notebook too, man. And I've been journaling. One thing that I heard someone say, and I don't want to like just dominate the conversation. You're just
please tell me. No, I'm listening.
Giving me all these ideas, right?
I'm learning a lot right now, man. I really appreciate it.
No, that's the beauty of these calls is like I might share a nugget I learned from some podcast or somebody, and then you'll share something, and I'll be like, "Ooh, let me try that." But like you said, don't undervalue or don't underestimate the value of pen and paper, because in a world where you can do so much online and type so fast, you're not as thoughtful about what you put down. But when you write it, it forces you to think about it. And do you really want to write that 3-paragraph thing that you were going to do? Or do you want to make it into 2 sentences that are actually meaningful? Right. So you're more intentional about what you put down.
More intentional, concise. You know, I think it clears up your thoughts a little bit better. Yeah, definitely. Writing I write as well. Yeah. I'm in that same boat.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
So is there anything else, like any other topics? I know we kind of went on the whole meditation, spiritual.
Yeah. I think there's a lot. Yeah. No. So, I mean, as far as business goes, so I write a blog now on my website every week. And one thing that maybe, we can talk about here is the short-term rental world versus the long-term rental.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I know a lot of investors or potential investors may be listening that want to get a property. Even my investor that I told you about, he wasn't sure, does he want to do a 1-year long-term rental or short-term, which have higher potential yields, right? So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So short-term rental, why do you do it, right? You do short-term rental because you expect more revenue to come from a short-term rental. There's obviously more risk involved because there is some occupancy risk. Whereas if you're going to do a short-term rental, a long-term rental, you're not subject to that. You kind of have your annual lease, and as long as your tenants are paying you rent, you don't have any of that outside risk. As well as with short-term rental, there is there is additional work, hospitality type of work, cleaning type of work. So there's actually a business behind it. Whereas long-term rental, the property management for long-term rental is definitely a business, but it's not as intense or as involved as short-term rental. So the reason you would come in, if you have an option, if you have an apartment complex, right, and you're saying, okay, what should I do with this thing? You would come in and say, okay, long-term rental versus short-term rental. Well, you would weigh out the pros and cons and say, okay, is my additional revenue that I can get in worth all the additional, there's going to be some additional expenses and some additional things like this. So when you're evaluating that, really the number that you want to take into consideration is, can I double whatever the long-term rental market gives me?
Oh, okay, cool. So that's a good rule of thumb. If you can double it,
a good rule of thumb,
then
you can double it. Correct. So if it's 1,000 from the regular market, then the STR market should get me minimum 2,000. It shouldn't be like reaching 2,000. It should be 2,000. I know I'll do 2,000, and then I know I'll double it, and then hopefully whatever happens up from there. So, but now let's weigh out what's happening right now, right? So since all of COVID has started back in March, and since in Houston, especially when the job losses started, and they started in the oil market, people have had issues with evictions, right? People have, and it's coming up more and more. Now the government aid is running out at this point in time. Who knows whether they're going to pass another bill for unemployment for some people. So people are going through some issues. But then what is the government reaction, right? The government reaction is an eviction moratorium. So basically now you cannot evict. So now you have a space that you have a long-term tenant in who cannot pay your rent, and now you're stuck with this guy, and now there's a mandated eviction moratorium. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for people, but this is your business, so you got to think about it from that way.
Right. No, my uncle's in that spot right now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He was just telling me he's got a guy who's like, hey, I've been here so long, I need to stay, but he hasn't been paying for like 5 months, and you're like, wow, well, what do I do?
And they know.
Right?
And the tenants know, though. It's
they're trying to take advantage of it, get a free ride. Some of them,
and some need it. It goes both ways. So anyway, so if you're stuck in the situation, if you're coming into market right now, if you're okay to handle the additional kind of load of work, and you're looking to make an investment, or just hire a property management company, you don't have to do any load of work. It's just you have a property manager. And then really short-term rental is less of a risky proposition until we see what happens.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any eviction risk. Like, somebody, you get them out, and your listing's got to be 27 days or under. As long as you're 27 days or under, you're technically a short-term rental. So from that perspective, and maybe a temporary thing, but from that perspective, if I'm thinking what I'm going to do with the place, and okay, I got the next year open available, either I'll do an LTR or I'll do STR. Well, if I feel like I can get a good team in, a good management team, cleaning crew, or I want to handle it myself, then I would definitely go the STR route because of the eviction moratorium, number one. And then number two, there is this big oversupply coming. I mean, we've really been shielded from the real economic impact of what has really happened because of all the money printing that's been happening by the Federal Reserve.
Right.
So all of this money flooding the market and paying, they're propping up zombie companies, and obviously they gave out many more unemployment benefits to many more people. So, at some point it's all going to be like no more Mr. Nice Guy. Look at the commercial real estate market. if these retail outfits, and you see what's coming on, so much is coming on the market now. If these retail outfits, they can't pay their rent, then the owners can't pay their mortgage. Then they go talk to the bank, and the bank says, okay, I take your place. So I feel like there's going to be a crazy supply of commercial stuff coming up.
For sure.
And that stuff has to be repurposed. So what, I don't know. I'm sure it could be repurposed to something. But if you got a good building, there's so many, if you can be creative, there's so many uses that can come out of that building.
Absolutely. There's one guy I've interviewed on my podcast before. He's from Houston too. His name's Hamza Ali. He's from Dubai originally. Started here. He took like 4 or 5 years to develop this big manufacturing like warehouse space, leased everything out, and then sold the property and like basically fast tracked it, or not fast tracked because that's 5 years is a pretty good amount of time invested. But I believe his story goes like he made a huge profit on that, and like that kind of got him started. He raised some capital from investors, and now they're doing a bunch of commercial projects and stuff. And I heard him talking about it because he has a YouTube channel and stuff about how he's seeing the future with 2020 and COVID and social distancing. And they had picked a location off of the highway, off of a very busy road where they could estimate how many people drive by there on a daily basis. And they're thinking about having like a food truck parking lot with some outdoor seating areas. So no matter how long the social distancing and COVID stuff happens, people need food. They want to stop by, pick something up. So they're finding creative ways to utilize space that maybe they had other purposes for before. So I thought that was an interesting and relevant example that I just saw of how people are repurposing and trying to, figure out how to navigate 2020 and like social distancing and all that stuff.
2020 has taught us one thing. It's about adaptability.
Yes, it's resilience and adaptability.
And open-mindedness. If you're just stuck in one type of point of view and one type of mindset and you can't think outside of that, you got to be aware enough to keep your mind open enough to realize what you got to do to improve your situation and improve whatever's going on around you.
Absolutely.
So anybody who has prospered in 2020 has really known the concept or hasn't known the concept of adaptability. So it's so important.
Definitely. And the thing is, I think I spoke about this with someone else on another podcast as well, is that when you're put back against the wall, you're forced to get creative, right? So a lot of people kind of, they knew stuff wasn't operating fully, like they could have done a couple things better. But when they had to, when things were closed and you couldn't do all these things like you used to, you had to really like, okay, that idea that we had that we thought would be cool, let's do it right now.
Yeah.
So coffee places are starting to do things like, hey, you can buy a gallon of tea, pre-order, pick it up. And I mean, those are things that they should have done before, that they had just been doing in-service delivery at the counter, right? But now they're probably, I don't know if they're increasing their sales or maintaining. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but it's more convenient for me. I'd rather stop by and pick it up than wait 10 minutes for it anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about the convenience and less interaction, right? More automation, less interaction.
Exactly. And I see a lot of the big companies, right? Starbucks, yeah, they've got the app and they've got the budget for their awesome app. You can order by store and location and pick up at the counter. But a lot of mom and pop places, they don't have the budget for app creation, and they're not really sure. They just use the cash register system, right?
Yeah.
So now even they're trying to pivot and
they got to adapt.
They got to adapt or die. I mean, that's it.
That's all it is. Otherwise, a lot of restaurants have gone out of business. But one, I think, bright spot. Obviously, there's bright spots in real estate. Residential, we all know, is a crazy market.
Yeah.
But industrial, on the commercial side, I'm liking industrial because of all the Amazon and everything just going shipping, and Amazon's doing drone shipments now.
Saw that.
Yeah, you saw that article. So awesome. This is all gonna and those deliveries are guaranteed within like 30 minutes or something like that. So the point is, you're gonna need like warehouses in many spots, and not even just Amazon. There's so many different third-party sellers that need warehouse space. So I think industrial warehouse, and obviously the manufacturing all that stuff is there, specialized, but industrial warehouse I like as a play, and I'm keeping my eyes open on that.
Very good tips. So for everyone listening, if you're thinking about what's the opportunity or like what should I focus on, I mean, there's opportunities. People keep saying it. It's not like the money's disappeared. It's like a transfer of wealth. going into the hands of the people who were not doing so great managing it to the hands of those who were identifying and seizing the opportunities. So
yeah.
I mean, like you said, Amazon keeps growing. All these companies, they're going to need space to store stuff.
Yeah. It's the only ROI that's going up in the world of commercial. If I saw that graph correctly the other day, I can't cite it right now, but yeah, it's good. It's positive growth in that way, but for sure, man.
Awesome. So right now, your primary focus with your new is that your new site is your primary focus for remote management?
Co-host. Yeah, remote co-host. And also, I'm always looking at investment deals and different things to diversify. I'm really heavy in short-term rental. That's why I was talking about industrial and kind of what I'm looking at right now. So, yeah. On the other side, I'm just growing the business as well. Aside from the investment side, which is the remotecohost.com. So that is services that we offer to any Airbnb host, hotel or motel owners, want full services, guest communication, guest screening, reimbursement, resolutions, pricing. We do pricing management, revenue management, which is huge. So it's a whole suite of services that we offer, and we can basically run your whole listing remotely. And you as an owner, we even coordinate with your cleaning team or your maintenance team. If something goes wrong, you don't have to speak to them. We'll just coordinate it. If there's a bill, nice. So everything runs directly through us, and we got everything 24/7 managed. So it's a good service. I think we just rolled it out pretty recently. And also we have the management side over here in Houston locally. We got 19 listings on management right now. We've got a few more coming. So it's just a mix between kind of what my investments are and some managed listings that we have as well. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. No, and then just talking to people from different industries. I mean, I'm in real estate too, but I've been more as a realtor lately, helping people buy and sell their houses. And
I'm a real estate agent as well. That's how.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been kind of stuck in the retail side lately. I started off in the investment side. I still do some of that, but then it's like, whoa, this nicer, higher priced house could be 5 of those little deals. So I try to prioritize because, I mean, it takes me back to the idea of when I used to be a server for one summer at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was at like the Missouri City location. For those in Houston, y'all know like that one doesn't, it's not as great as the Sugarland one where like people aren't wealthy nearby and like the tipping isn't as great, let's just say. So I work an 8-hour shift and I'm like, man, I made like negative money. I mean, $20, they'd have to pay me minimum wage because I didn't even make it in tip.
Right.
In the people in Sugarland, where it's like all great new territory and all those nice neighborhoods, they got $100, $200 a night or whatever it was. But the thing is that I learned that I would be spending the same amount of time helping people and staying there till 2 versus the people who worked at a nicer place. They did the same amount of work relatively. I mean, maybe they wore nicer clothes and had more glass plates and glasses and stuff and bottles. But the ticket price was higher, and so the tips are higher. And I quickly learned in real estate, if the prices are higher and the clients are easier to work with, they're more likely to tip you, aka larger commissions. Less headaches, right? So it's just a realization that I've been having, like, okay, let me focus my efforts on a few, like the Pareto principle, the 20% that are going to be my best clients, leave me good reviews, they won't be a pain in my butt, versus the 80% that like, they complain about everything and they're nitpicking about $5 thing here and there, right?
Yeah, for sure. No,
every client's different though, so you don't know until you work with them.
I mean, the bigger ticket items in real estate definitely work. I'll just relate that to like smaller ticket items. Like, so back when I'm from New York originally, Queens, New York. So I had, I started my, business journey, by buying some gas stations and I had Subway restaurants and Checkers franchises out in New York. Cool. And so, but when I moved here, I'd sold off all my assets and kind of restarted over here. But, over there, one of the things that we focused on, owning Subways, owning, franchises, quick serve franchises, is check average. Check average was a very important.
Okay, good to know.
Was a very important KPI for us, and that was the upsell, right? So that was like, what can you add on to this check to bring that up?
That's beautiful. No, because I think Subway and they're like, you want any chips? You want a cookie? You want a drink? And then, how did I spend $20 more than I expected, right?
Exactly.
They got me with the white chocolate macadamia nut cookie.
Yeah. So it's always about bigger ticket average, build the ticket average. I definitely can relate.
Yeah, no, that's so true. If you can just upsell people have stuff at the front, maybe the lady at Dollar Tree, I lived near like a Family Dollar or something. And I was just getting some water or something, and she was doing a good job. Like I just showed up to the counter with like 4 gallons of water, and she's trying to sell me on the Kit Kat. Like, you want some Kit Kat? Really? Help me out. Like, come on, you want to help me out? And she made me feel bad because I said no to. She's like, do you want to help me? And I was like, no, I'm sorry. Like, clearly I've just worked out and I have 4 gallons of water. I'm not going to get a Kit Kat. You're marketing to the wrong person. I'm going to Snap Kitchen after this.
I'm not your target market. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, man, it's not me. Maybe the person behind me, but like they got 4 monsters in their hand, but
Yeah. Yeah.
So that goes to knowing your customer too.
Yeah.
But the upsell is important. She could have pitched me on like a protein bar or a Cliff Bar and I probably would have taken it. So
100% right, 100% right. But yeah, I mean, you're positioned in a real good way to be a realtor, exactly what you're doing, because the market is so hot. I mean, you're doing a lot of deals and you're killing it right now. So you're in a great position. I mean, all my friends who are builders and all my friends who are on the realtor game in a kind of full-time basis, they're really happy right now. And that's great. Interest rates are low. This is the time to do it. This stuff, people can afford more houses. It's just that simple.
And I mean, just go where the opportunities are. And I've been finally embracing that mindset of, business is unlimited. The opportunities are out there. If you're not doing well right now, you're not doing something right. You got to shift your focus. And it took me a while to figure it out, right? I had plenty of months where I'm like, what the heck? I'm working full time. I'm showing up every day. I don't see any results. But a year later of doing that, I'm like, cool. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do it, right? Buddha talks about it as disinterested work.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So basically, you're not worried about the result. You're just so engulfed in what you're actually doing, like that consistent work that you put in on a daily basis, that the result is like whatever. It's just going to be like a fringe benefit. It just kind of comes. It's a byproduct of whatever you're going to put forward anyway.
Exactly. Because we can't manage the results, right? Like, as much as I want to get 3 leads today, I don't know that people are going to reach out to me to buy or sell a house, but I know I can impact how many posts am I making on social media? How many podcasts am I doing, right? So focus on what you can control. That's the message.
Yeah. Well, that's stoicism right there.
I love that. What did you say about the Buddha thing? Disinterested work? Is that
disinterested work? Disinterested work.
Don't be tied to the results. Just be focused on the work.
Exactly.
Man, we had some enlightening talk today. I know we're kind of getting toward the end of the hour. And like I mentioned, it's like one of my clients is like, hey.
Yeah, 5 p.m.
I'm hoping they don't back out of that deal because they're like, he's talking to his wife and seller doesn't want to budge on the concessions.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some of that. It's funny. We had some of that friendly like negotiation where you're like, well, he wants to do that, then we might just back out. And I'm like, no, wait. And now we're here on a call and everything worked out well.
It's really about keeping it real, though. I mean, aside from when you're playing around with like price a little bit, you know what I mean? You're going to kind of hold your cards. But I feel like if you're just more straight up in negotiation, it just works out better. Like, this is what I want.
I think so. Yeah. I tell my clients that too, because it's almost like, I see it more like the agents are kind of like friends almost in a way, because we know we got to represent our clients and do what's best for them, but we kind of got to be the mouthpiece between what they're thinking and like what we know they want, I guess, because they don't really know. This is a big decision for them. They let emotions get involved. And for us, we're more like, hey, this is the transaction, one of several, hopefully, that we're working on. It's problems for us that we're solving, not our life event, like moving our family. So it's easier for us to see it objectively, like, hey,
from that distance,
man, why are you asking for that? Like, this is reasonable. And then I kind of tell my client, hey, I think they're being reasonable. Like, we should take this.
Yeah. Well, you got to be empathetic towards their needs, right? Towards your client's kind of mind state and where they are.
Exactly. Exactly, man. Well, man, I want to give an opportunity real quick. If you have any takeaways or last minute messages you'd like to share with the audience, if you wanted to give one takeaway to the audience today, what would it be?
One takeaway. One, not two.
One, not two. Like
one,
you mean,
not two. Non-duality.
Okay. Non-duality, right?
Non-duality.
One, not two. Man, I love that. That's awesome. So everyone look into that. My therapist always tells me all the time, like, hey, have you heard of toxic positivity? Look it up. And I'll do some research. And I'm like, wow, that is me. I'm so positive. So now I'm going to look up non-duality and look into that, watch a couple of YouTube videos. And time block it, though.
Yeah, no doubt. RemoteCohost.com, by the way. Remote Cohost.
RemoteCohost.com.
Yes,
Awesome.
sir. That's a service we just opened. We really offer a lot of value to the market. We're the lowest management fees on the market, and we have a whole suite of services. If everybody can just check it out, and if there's any questions, please give us a call, email, contact, anything. That's remotecohost.com.
Really awesome, man. I'll be sure to put that link in the bio. And do you want to share any like social media handles or anything if anyone wants to follow you? Or
Oh yeah. At Remote Cohost on Instagram. We got a Facebook page, Remote Cohost.
Cool. You got the names on everything. That's great.
That's it. Just keep it congruent. Keep it together.
Yeah, one, not two, right?
Exactly.
I wish I could do that with my own freaking Instagram. I got different names and accounts for everything. But remotecohost.com. Everybody, Anuj Datta. How do you say your name again? Whenever you say, hey, my name is, like, can you pronounce it for
Datta.
me?
Datta. Yeah, Datta, yeah.
Man, that's very New York. Like, I think I told
I'm from
you.
New York.
I was born in Brooklyn, but I mean, I grew up in Houston. So I didn't even really know it. I have the birth certificate, but I mean, Houston's home right now. So
no doubt. Houston's home for me too, bro.
Data, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
And then AD1 Management is your management company.
AD1 Management is my management company, correct.
Awesome. So I'll put all the links to the show notes that we talked about. I appreciate the conversation from business to short-term rentals and long-term rentals and Buddhism and Hinduism and spirituality. No, and I'm glad we finally got to do this call because we only briefly talked, during that transaction. And we meant to connect, so I'm glad we finally made that happen.
Well, we ran into each other one time in like a running trail.
We were jogging.
The Harrisburg Trail. Yeah. So
it's funny when you meet someone. It's almost like if you ever swiped right on Tinder or something, and then you like see someone, but you never met them, and you're like, I know.
Yeah. No doubt.
That's hilarious, man. We're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, Chris. I was like, oh shit, what's up?
Like we got to catch up, man. But yeah, man, let's keep in touch and great connecting with you. Like I know you said you appreciate my vibe and energy, and likewise, man. Just namaste, like good vibes. Namaste, I just want to see other people win too, and I love people who are just doing their best despite all the challenges that are thrown their way. So keep it up, man.
Much respect, man. Thank you.
Awesome, much respect. Thank you. Appreciate your time today.